You know. All right. Anybody seen the star that's always red in the pyramid? Okay, it's always red. All right. Technically, the reason why is because they're fusing alpha particles with hydrogen, ionized hydrogen, which is hydrogen and helium. They're emulating the sun. They literally are emulating the sun. Okay, but it's a little micro star, and they're using the arc light of the Ark of the Covenant, kind of like a spark plug, in this king's chamber to light it. This is like a gas discharge lamp, but it's also set up like a transmitter, like a Tesla coil, and like a regular crystal radio. Okay, and it uses all the same pieces too, and all the same semiconductors and everything. It's a giant thermoelectric generator with a smaller thermoelectric generator in it, creating an arc. And what they're doing is putting helium and hydrogen, or alpha particles and hydrogen in here, and they're arcing it, and they're basically, it's like the ignition, like a combustion chamber almost, but it keeps happening, and it's in a field. It's in a unified field, and it just creates a star. And lo and behold, that means Iket, meaning glorious light. All right. Also, I'm gonna go ahead and read this, or I'm gonna get off subject. All right. Anyway, all right. It emits H alpha light spectrum, which is 656 to 666 nanometer light wave. All right, fusing the hydrogen and the alpha particles, or helium, or alpha particles, they're the same thing, into lithium, and that's why it's a crimson-colored star. Essentially, this was a star produced in the king's chamber when you turn the pyramids on using the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant was a radioisotope thermoelectric generator. Notice this looks like nuclear rods. Ironically, Aaron's rods, was contained in the Ark of the Covenant. I mean, that's a little too ironic. Control rods, Aaron's rods. I mean, that's just a little weird, all right? Now, a pot of manna was supposed to be in the Ark of the Covenant. It glowed green. Okay, what glows green? Well, radium does. That means it's nuclear. Okay, now check this out. It was bright, so you'd literally get blinded if you looked at it. All right, that's like a giant arc. An arc that you have to, like an arc welder would get blinded. All right, it's a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, so that means people would get radiation sickness, and it was electrical. If you touched it, it was a live circuit. You would be electrocuted to death. Okay, so all of this stuff fits. Okay. And here's technically the thermoelectric equilibrium. Ironically, the radium is 88. That's the sixth element in group 2. Okay? Now, I don't want to digress too much. Alright, it's similar to a spark plug, like I was saying. It was a thermoelectric generator. Okay? And there was a micro star in the king's chamber. Okay? Now, ironically, this alpha and omega, or alpha, beta, omega. Okay, now look. It was a radioisotope. Okay, it had alpha nuclear core and omega electric. All right, alpha decays into beta, which is omega. That's the male carrying the male and female, basically, just like we see in nature. The nuclear. That's on other videos. Anyway, all right. The Queen's Chamber points. The King's Chamber points toward Alpha Draconis, right here. That's alpha. It sounds like it's nuclear. Okay, that's the nuclear. That's the alpha. All right. On this side here, this is beta. Okay, beta Ursa Minor. That's the beta. That's the electric. Okay, that's going to be the electric. So you have your alpha, your nuclear, and you have your electric. You have the alpha and omega. You have both. And this is going to literally be transported to a capstone, because this is going to want to be cold. This is the hot chamber. This is the cold chamber. All right, and this is like the water chamber that helps keep this cool, and where they get their hydrogen from electrolysis of water. Okay, now ironically, like I was saying, thermoelectric generators, okay, the pyramids are laid out like a motherboard. See, now look, this is the CPU, that's the King's Chamber, that's the main CPU, this is the North Bridge, and this is the South Bridge, okay? Look at all these little circuits and stuff here, thermoelectric generators, using heat and radio frequencies and all of that, just natural stuff like that. It's a solid state nuclear plant, pretty much is what it is. Now, ironically, motherboard parts are interchangeable with thermoelectric generators. Again, a microstar, okay? And the alpha and omega in people, that's a biostar. See what I'm saying? They know something. There's connections. I think literally the Vatican has literally gave us a lot of ancient stuff that's been hidden, and we've implemented it, and, I ain't even get into it. So here's an example. If core computing is pure energy, then what else is pure energy? A star. If you have a star in the King's Chamber, then that is pure energy, and that is glorious light, Iket. I-K-H-E-T, meaning glorious light. And if it's set up like a Tesla coil, that's a transmitter. If it's set up like a radio, a crystal radio, then that's a receiver. So it's literally a transmitter and a receiver. So it's receiving solar energy, radio energy, energy from water, nuclear energy, electrical energy from heat and cold using the Seebeck effect. I mean, it's just a solid state plant. They literally went with just keeping it simple, you know, using solid state plant. Ironically, remember what I was saying about CPUs and computers? This is a Pyramid socket 9131. Pyramids use sockets. And ironically, if you use a certain equation, everything about a Pyramid socket always ends up being a CPU socket also. And it's ironic. And it's y times x to the second power. With a 6 divisible. Now, ironically, I know it sounds like E equals mc squared, but it's actually reversed. You take the nuclear core times the electric squared, and you merge them pretty much. Instead of energy equals mass, the nuclear core, times explosion, the speed of light squared. You know, it's the exact opposite. You're fusing them instead of exploding them. Now see, y times x squared, if you use the 6 divisible, which is 3 technically, 3 times 6 squared, you get 108. That's our solar system, all the layout of the solar system. You know, 108 Earths across the sun, 108 Earths in between the sun and the Earth, and 108 moons in between the moon and the Earth. You know, it's just ironic, you know. Then you have, let's see, where was it at? 6 times 12 to the second power, which is 864, which is the diameter of the sun. Okay. Ironically, these are all CPU sockets also. Let's see, where's the CPU socket? See, this right here is a BGA socket CPU right here. This one, 9 times 12 to the second power. That one's 1296. Okay. This one right here is a 486 CPU. Everybody knows what a 486 is. So it's just ironic how a lot of the CPUs coincide with that equation, and similar to E equals mc squared with the pyramids and CPU sockets, not to mention the philosophy and all the weird stuff that coincides with the stories of ancient gods and the stars and all that coincide with the technology here. And the stuff that we use now. You know, a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, we only use those in space. Why do we not use those anywhere on the planet, but we use them in space? That's what Voyager's made of, you know. A radioisotope thermoelectric generator with an open arc. Inside this chamber would ignite this, would probably bring this thing back to life. But we'd have to put certain parts back in the spots. It just seems weird that all this stuff, and numbers don't lie. The numbers do not lie. And it's ironic it all coincides with 369. Now get this. Alright, now I had to do some labeling here because there's a lot of stuff with our science that we don't have labeled or even recognize. Alright, so an interstellar day, if you divide up 6, the universe, or everything that we know into 6, technically you have a day to God equaling 2.250 billion years. Alright, and then an astronomical week, that's 3 of these galactic, let's see, you have 9 galactic years, which is 3 astronomical weeks, which is an interstellar day. Okay, that's the 1, 3, 9. Okay, now when you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you end up getting a different kind of number philosophy here. Well, you get like the archean eon and all this, which they're coinciding with astronomical weeks, which is 750 million years. But a galactic year is 250 million years, because that's how long it takes our solar system to go around the galaxy. 250 million years. Okay? When that does that 9 times, that's an interstellar day. So you have 1 interstellar day, 2 interstellar day, 3 interstellar day, 4 interstellar day, 5, and 6. Okay? And then our eons can be divided up into 6, which are 750 million years, which is an astronomical week. Okay? And then a galactic year being 9 of those astronomical weeks. Then it goes 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Okay? 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54. Alright? Then between that, you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. Okay? See, all of our universe is why we have the numbers. And this is why. Everything that the universe does, it's creating numbers. It's creating sequence. You know? And it's all divisible by 6. It all has to do with that. You know, so Earth is 18 galactic years old. Earth is 6 astronomical weeks old. Carbon-based life form 6. All right, so you have 3 astronomical weeks, which is 750 million years. All right, which is 2.250 billion years. Okay, now you have your Hadean eon through here. You have 3 more astronomical weeks, 750 million years. Okay, which is going to be 3 galactic years. See what I'm saying? The galactic years are 250 million years. So it's going to have to go around 3 times. Alright? So there's 2 times it's done that, which is 6. Okay? And the 3rd time, it's going to be 9. The 4th time it does that. So these are interstellar days. Alright? So Earth is basically 2 interstellar days old. It's 2 interstellar days old. It's 18 galactic years, like I was explaining. See, and then you have, during this time, the Hadean eon, the Archean eon, the Proterozoic, and all that, you have your prokaryotes, 9.7 billion years, basically, to 11.25 billion years after the beginning of the universe began, or after the singularity died, or this star. Basically, this is a neutron star. It's like a macro neutron star that turns into a galactic nebula, which is basically how the Crab Nebula was born, but this is on a way, way, way larger scale, on a gigantic universal macro scale. You know, no different. We just complicate things way more than it really has to be. But this is all the simplicity of it, and that's why it all fits together so simply, because you have to sift through all the bullshit. See, basically, whenever I don't even want to get into how the singularity formed, but yeah, this has to do with how the singularity formed. This is you know how they say, oh, quark gluon plasma, we've discovered it, we made it. Dude, we did not make no quark gluon plasma. If we even kind of found it or stumbled onto it, it's because the universe did it sometime billions of years ago, or somewhere else that we are not even aware of. We do not create elements on the periodic table. They exist somewhere, or we wouldn't be able to create it. We need to get out of that frame of thinking. The stuff exists somewhere, it just doesn't exist on Earth. We just made it exist on Earth.